Hey YouTube, my name is Sven. Welcome to the Metal Foundry. So, in my video last week, I told you that I would be making this video, basically the video that I'm playing guitars for 20 years, and you may wonder why are you going to tell me this? Because I want to. That's why. Hell yeah. In my last week's video, I told you that this period is a very special period for me because this period I'm playing this year is 2023. I think 20 years ago I started playing guitar. 20 years ago was the first time that I saw Metallica, and yeah, basically those are two major events for me that really changed my life. And I already told you what Metallica meant for me in one of my previous videos, so you can find it over here. So for this video, I will continue the giveaway period because I'm celebrating, of course, 2 years of the Metal Foundry, but also 20 years of me playing guitar. And for that occasion, I'm giving away Papa Heads, hardwired Mastercore strings. This is as I said in previous video, this is a set, a little tin box with 3 string sets in it, ranging from 11 to 50. These are James Hetfield specs, and also a t-shirt from Ernie Ball, thanks to Ernie Ball and Algam Benelux, which is the Ernie Ball distributor for Benelux, of course. Yeah, so I will start my story from where I first started playing guitar, but actually it's not 20 years ago. Apparently it's almost 30 years ago that my guitar career started. But then I didn't start guitar, I played more air guitar. I was visiting my parents, and I was browsing through one of the family photo albums, and I saw these pictures. This one, these two over here, where I was apparently playing guitar, air guitar, on a carpet beater. I know around the time my mom was always listening to music when we were at home, and she either played Bon Jovi, ZZ Top, house music, Gloria Estefan, Eric Clapton, everything all together. So a very broad musical taste. And that's also what I inherited from her, because nowadays I also listen to everything. I can listen from British hardcore drum and bass to black and dark metal. It doesn't really matter. If I really like it and if I like the vibe within the music, that's what I do. So fast forward from that period, fast forward to 2003. 2003, 15 years old. Was not a very easy period for me because I was bullied a lot, even that far that I got in therapy. I went to see a psychologist. I really had lots of trouble fitting in or finding my own place in life, and that's why I went to see a psychologist. And my psychologist actually suggested that I go find a hobby outside. That I found something like drama lessons, like theater and so on, theater and acting. And I was like, what, me, theater and acting? Hell no. No. So I decided that I wanted to play music, and I wanted to play guitar. So my mom and I, we drove to St. Nicholas, to the city where I live right now. We went to see a local music store which is called Key Music. So Key Music was one of the biggest music stores in Belgium, if not the biggest at that time. And it was an old defunct cinema hall, and when you came in the first time, I think maybe I can find some pictures from the good old days somewhere online, and we'll put them here as well. But as soon as you came in the big room full of guitars, like in the old cinema hall, all the walls were covered. So you even have a special Gibson corner, and you had also like the custom shop guitars were there. And I remember as a kid coming there, I was like, wow, this is Valhalla for me. It's just amazing. So my mom being a blues lover, and apparently that sales guy being a blues guitar player, he was a really good sales guy. He knew what he was doing, so he started playing some blues licks. My mom was sold afterwards, that the guitar was sold, and we got home, and yeah, had to find guitar lessons. And I remember that guy saying, you know what, you should go to the free workshops, vrije ateliers, whatever. This is a music school not so far from here, and you don't really have to learn theory or learn how to read notes. You just learn how to play guitar. And there's a cool guitar player with very long hair teaching guitar lessons and so on. And there was Sonny. His name was Sonny. And yeah, Sonny taught me quite some things, taught a lot. He taught me how to play guitar, of course, and also how to wear cowboy boots. I think from my 16 years old, I was wearing Sancho boots, and I still have those because they're if you maintain them very well, they are really nearly indestructible. So, anyways, 16 years old, starting to play guitar, and then at that music school, there was a Line 6 Spider 2, 150 watts, 2x12, I remember, and a Stag Stratocaster guitar, so a copy of even cheaper than Squire, for example. And yeah, I started to play guitar on that one, and for me that felt much easier than playing acoustic guitar. And I came home and said, "Mom, Dad, I want to have an electric guitar." And my parents, at least my mom at that time, they were very protective, being that I was bullied quite a lot, and then that my mom was worried that I would make a fool of myself, which I still do on stage sometimes. Anyway, all jokes aside, she was kind of worried that I would make a fool of myself, and they were like, "Nah, we're not really fond of that idea," and so on, and blah blah blah. It's too loud, whatever. Anyways, turned 16 years old. I went for my first summer job, and I worked summer vacation. I worked in a plant store, so garden center, and then also worked in a where they were growing apples and pears. So I was actually picking apples and pears. And from the money that I earned in that summer job, I bought my very first electric guitar and guitar amplifier. I sold the guitar amplifier a couple years ago, but I still have that guitar. And that is this baby over here. My Epiphone Goth SG. And I tell my story of this guitar in one of my previous videos, but I will also tell the story of this guitar in one of my shorts that will be launched in the future. So you can stay tuned for those if you want or not. As soon as I got that guitar, I remember that I think the year after that I went to Spain on summer vacation, on summer camp, and there I met some guys also from the city where I live right now, Jan and Wim, and those were two-thirds of a triplet together with their sister. And with those guys I formed my very first band, Acid Killer. And Acid Killer, we were, but that's later on, because I started that band when I was around 20 years old, 2021. I think, yeah, when I started that band when I was 2021. And around that time, before that time, I also bought my very first LTD guitar after my summer job in the Deutsche Bank office, also in St. Nicholas. And as soon as I got that guitar, yeah, I was completely hooked. And when I got that LTD EX400, the white one, I also started my own project, my own instrumental project, which I dubbed Dark Exploration, because I had an Explorer guitar and I wanted to play dark music. And I was influenced by Joe Satriani, and at the time when I was snooping around on the internet to find other music like Joe Satriani, I met a band called Lonero on MySpace. And with Bill Lonero, I'm still in very good contact actually. I met him I had a discussion with him yesterday about a cool project that I just joined that I will tell you more about later. So at that time, my own instrumental project. Those were tracks that I've written. I think I record everything in Cool Edit Pro, a pirated version. And I used my Boss GT8 that I connected directly into the line-in of my computer. And I had to fiddle around with SEO for all, stupid audio drivers on Windows. That's why I moved to Mac completely for my recordings, because that's way easier to use. But that first project, I still have the recording somewhere, and I think, yeah, I made a lot of mistakes listening back to them, because every guitar track that I recorded a bass track with my guitar tuned down a full octave with my Boss GT8, and I was also recording line per line, but I did one take complete. And when I made a mistake, I deleted that track and I recorded everything from scratch again. And basically the melody lines were just me fiddling around and improvising in harmonic minor or whatever scale I learned at that time. Quite creative, but not always on point. But yeah, I have to learn not to be so strict for myself or so severe for myself. So that's those projects. When I will dig them up, I think I will try to re-record them and rewrite them with the knowledge and the technology that I know today. I started my first band with Jan and Wim and another guy called Didier. Didier was a bass player, and our band was Acid Killer. We did one show, and I think not so long after that show, Or at least it lasted the same year. I think we split up because, or at least I left the band because there was a fight between the bass player and I over a girl. That's the most rock and roll Spinal Tap way of creating a band, like fighting over a girl. Anyways, with those guys, with Jan, and think I'm not sure if it was with his brother Wim as well, but we restarted a band actually afterwards, which was called Obvious, and Obvious was formed when the bass player Twan Anthony was looking for fellow musicians that wanted to do Volbeat covers. And I was a fan of Volbeat and was like, yeah, that music is cool. But we never played one single note of Volbeat. We started jamming and writing our own songs immediately. Some were recycled from the Acid Killer days, but played slower. And around that same period, I also joined a band called Gangrene. Gangrene was my very first thrash metal band. Was a bit heavier than the music we played with Acid Killer. And there was, yeah, the music itself was very cool. The drummer was a very good drummer. Awesome bass player as well. The singers, they had their own qualities, and that's everything I will say about that. I still know them, they're still very good friends. But at that time, yeah, there was some room for improvement, let's keep it that way. There was also some room for improvement for my guitar playing, there still is, but at that time, back to the main story. And that bass player, as soon as I got in contact with my ex-wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, I made him join War Beast Remains, and that's a band that I will also join afterwards. So, but that's following later in the story. Sorry, with Gangrene we played a gig at a school, we played some gigs in a local venue here, and we also recorded 4 tracks in a studio. It was my very first recording experience. It was very cool because I remember there was the studio where normally records pop artists and so on. And the owner of the studio was a blind guy called Pino Guaracci. And I think after the first half day of recording together with his assistant, Pino asked me, "Hey Sven, cool guitar sound. Hey, is that a Marshall that you are playing?" I'm like, "No, that's a Black Star." I said, shit, I would have sworn it was a Marshall. I said, well, sounds logic because the founders of Black Star used to work for Marshall. But because he was blind, his hearing was that well developed that he could hear. Like his assistant entered the room and he asked the guy whether he was wearing new shoes because he could hear he was wearing new shoes. So it's like completely blown away by that. I still have the recording somewhere and I will never release those. The recording themselves was good. The performance on the recordings was not good enough to be released. So fast forward 2016-17, that period, I joined War Beast Remains. War Beast Remains was my first experience in a band that played a lot more gigs. I think I played 6 or 7 gigs in total. The last gig was in 2018 in Slovenia at the Metal Days Festival. That was very awesome. My first experience abroad. No, the first experience was also with War Beast when we played in the Netherlands, but that was farther away abroad. And yeah, War Beast Remains is also a stepping stone for me. It was also the first time I got more serious about my guitar rig. Of course, I already had my Black Star when I was joined Gangrene. I bought it when I was playing with Gangrene, but then also invested more in rack units and so on for effects and a wah pedal. And because normally I would play with my Boss GT8 together with my Black Star. But then I wanted to go for complete analog effects or boost pedals and separate pedals. And then the last gig that I played with War Beast Remains was in 2018 when we went on a hiatus. And then I think that was, an end of a period for me. I think then came 2019. In 2019 I got married with my girlfriend at the time. And then 2020 everything went down the gutters. Because that year we had to put one of our 2 cats to sleep, Plumeau. I still have Moustache, who is not in the studio at the moment, but you know him from one of my first videos. And yeah, my marriage also ended. We split up, and I remember during that very weekend of splitting up, I got a message from Wim from Hopi Roads to whether I wanted to join them. And then I learned some songs and I went to the auditioning and then joined the band. And then started a very cool period for me as well, because that was, at that time, they were like my saviors at the time, because they gave me a new purpose. And we played some cool gigs at some local bars. We played at a festival, I think two or three festivals. My favorite, one of my favorite gigs was in Music City, which is like a very small venue in Antwerp. It's actually a cult place, so you have to be there to know how it is and to see it. There also have been very big bands that play there in a very small venue. And then of course the other cool gig that we played was in the Tolminator Festival this summer. And around the time before going to Tolminator, I was asked by Patronus, by Nicholas, the guitar player of Patronus. And Nicholas, yeah, I know him. I knew the band Patronus from playing gigs together at one of the festivals. And they were from this city, and I knew Nicholas. I didn't know him personally, but I saw him always selling cool guitars on marketplaces on Facebook and so on. I remember he asked me, "Hey, how are you doing? Would you feel like joining? Would you like to join Patronus?" And my first reaction was, "What day is your rehearsal?" And he said, "Yeah, we rehearse on Tuesday." I'm like, "Oh yeah, hell yeah, let's do this." And it was really a no-brainer, because I rehearsed on Monday with Hopi Roads, and on Tuesday I would rehearse with Patronus, and they are from my hometown here. It's 2 blocks away, very easy to be there. And yeah, it was really a no-brainer. Then after the gig in Slovenia, I announced it to Hopi Roads that I wanted to join a second band, because yeah, I've no partner, I don't have kids, so I'm completely free, and I want to spend my free time making as much music as I can. So for me, it was really a no-brainer. Unfortunately, we didn't get to an agreement, and yeah, I didn't want to go into too many details. It ended up with me leaving the band, and at that time it was a very difficult thing for me. It was a very difficult episode, let's call it like that. And it was difficult because it reminded me of my breakup, and it tore up some old wounds again. But at the same time, I think over the last 2 years since my divorce, I got a little bit more and more spiritual is not the right word, I think, but I started to think more about the things that happened to me and why they happened to me. And instead of resisting everything that happens, I'd start to learn to accept the things more. So I accepted the fact that I was no longer in that band, but looking back, looking at the place where I am right now, looking at where I find myself at this point, I think I would have left anyway, because from the moment that I joined that band, in that period, I was still putting people on pedestals, and I also put them on pedestal. And when I look at the band that I'm in right now, in Patronus, I don't have to put them on a pedestal at all, because we always have fun. We are always joking. After every rehearsal, I go out for beers with the other guitar player, with Nicholas, go throwing some darts and so on. It's like there's a complete friendship building out of that band, and that's something that in a way that I missed a bit in the previous band. Although they were cool guys, but I never really got that connection with them, and I think now I understand more and more why, because of the dynamic that I had in my head, and a very wrong, misplaced power dynamic in a way. It just happened automatically. I think it just happened because it happened, and I completely accept that. So now today, I find myself being a guitar player for 20 years. I play in a very cool band, Patronus. I still own very cool guitars, and I'm very grateful for every step that I took and for everything that happened to me, even the bad things. Because without the bad things, the good things are never as good. There would be no contrast. And that's what life is about for me. And that's also the advice I would like to give to you, to viewer. And if you made it this far into the video, I'm very grateful for you watching. I'm also very grateful for listening to me. And please let me know in the comment section if you have a similar story, or tell me why you started playing guitar, because I cannot be the only one that has something happened in his life like this, like me, like I did. Because in the end, there always will be music for me, either as a player or as a listener. And then also had a very cool discussion about it today, actually, when I was out for my job. I was in Luxembourg. and I met with Sasha Hanle from Mutinate the Bounty and Them Lights, and then he owns a studio, and I was meeting him for professional reasons, and also had a discussion with him about exactly why we were playing music, and then it occurred to me I'm exactly where I have to be, and I'm exactly where I want to be, and I'm grateful for every note that I can play every single day. And then that actually concludes my story. That's why I wanted to share this with you, and that's why I'm grateful for you, the viewer, and for all my friends and family and for everybody that I meet along the way. If you have any questions, put it down in the comment section. And as I also already said, if you have your own story to tell, please also share it in the comment section. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like the content that I'm creating on this channel and you want to help me grow my channel, please subscribe and click the notification bell to be notified whenever I upload a new video, which is every single week. As for the giveaway, you can still win a second set of Hatfield strings. Thank you much for watching. My name is Sven. You've been watching the Metal Foundry, and look forward to see you in a future video. Bye.